Well, our vision around this is very much creating efficiency, and the efficiency that you might see similar to in the public markets. When you think about investing on the stock exchange, you invest dollars and those dollars go and things are handled. And so we kind of see that as an opportunity in this space, is creating more efficiency so that, again, sponsors, even if they're just getting off the ground for the first time, have the infrastructure to start spinning up their syndication, start garnering investments from their investors without a lot of legwork ahead of them.
Are you about to start a podcast or producing a podcast and tired of doing the editing yourself? We have produced over 1,000 daily shows, and the production team that I've created, they're now available to produce shows for you as well. We can do as little or as much as you need, from finding and communicating with guests, preparing introductions, to editing the audio and video. You will sound better, have a more professional presence, and be able to spend your time doing other valuable tasks on your business. Let me know you're interested by emailing me directly at whitney@lifebridgecapital.com.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, we talk about some tech that has made my life so much easier in this business, but it's also given us a professional presence with our investors. It's helped ease the process of investing with us for our investors, which if you are raising money, that should be one of the top things that you're working on all the time. And we are always trying to improve that process. And this system, this platform has helped us with that more than anything else. And so today we're talking to the co-founder of InvestNext. His name is Kevin Heras, and he's the co-founder. He's it's a software platform that modernizes the way real estate syndicators and investment firms raise and manage capital. So prior to InvestNext, he was the employee number 2 at the college career network startup called Handshake. Some of you have probably heard of that. So he was very early in that process, and where he's worked now, and he did that, and now he saw an opportunity to build his own platform, right? And he and Michael, another co-founder, which I've gotten to know, it's just been incredible to see the growth of this platform. But he's going to go through some of that today. But he's going to talk about even starting a business and even connecting with a billionaire, and this billionaire investing in their platform. And I know there's going to be some things to that are you can take from for your syndication business, but building teams and when to hire people and how to think about that. And then some new things about InvestNext. You'll hear me talk a little bit about how we use it. If you're considering a platform, I strongly consider you or would push you to check it out. But you're going to learn a lot from Kevin today. Kevin, welcome to the show. I know you are head of a business that we are directly tied to, and it's helped us in a massive way. I'm looking forward to getting into that. And just what that is for listeners who do not know you or heard of this platform before. But I know just as an entrepreneur and in this business, you have learned so many things that we can just glean from you. And there's a couple of different things that are so relatable to what we do. It's very interesting, but we're going to get into that. Give the listeners a little more about who you are in case they don't know who you are. And let's dive in.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a co-founder at InvestNext. And just for context, InvestNext is real estate syndication platform. So the whole point there is you're a syndicator, an investment group going out to raise capital. Whole point is you're going to have a portal to do that through. Investors can go in, subscribe, sign their docs, fund their investment. So that's one portion of the platform. And the other piece of that is actually handling the downstream. So being able to manage the investors, distributions, reporting, et cetera. So really kind of providing the end-to-end kind of lifecycle for the investment and the syndication. So that's the platform InvestNext. And then on my side, I could describe a little bit of my background from, definitely came from tech. Previous to InvestNext, I worked at a consulting firm where we implemented CRM systems, ERP systems. So I got a lot of exposure to kind of very different industries, companies, all scales and sizes. So got sort of that sort of full stack exposure to what different business operating systems are out there. So that was kind of a career track. And then before that, probably a more impactful piece in my professional life was my involvement at Handshake. So Handshake is, for anyone's context, is a career network platform for college students. So in short, it's kind of like the LinkedIn for college students. And today they're a unicorn out in the Valley, Silicon Valley. And, I was involved there when it was a dorm room funded startup. So I was, call it employee number 1, and got a lot of exposure to what it took to get a product, off the ground from nothing pretty much out to the world. And so, yeah, that stuck with me. I knew, very early on that was definitely wanted to get involved in building something that added value to kind of an ecosystem overall. So anyways, that's kind of like what I harken back to, a lot of inspiration for what kind of drove, kind of the birth of InvestNext. But
how did you find notice, the opportunity or, to create something like InvestNext? How did you notice that, hey, there's a void here that I think I can go fill and commit, right? I mean, to making that happen.
Yeah, it was a little serendipitous to kind of a start. So for a little context, I met my co-founder, Michael Giese. So while I was at my day job. And so again, as I was mentioning, I was kind of that corporate track. And then, this was something, so this is pre-genesis of InvestNext. He had been working on this project for a real estate investment fund. And really at the time, they needed a tool to manage the investor cap table, distributions, reporting. So some very functional pieces to help streamline the investor experience. And so he, again, standalone project, one-off project for this group. And so I had known Michael for a while. And it was something that when it got rolled out pretty quickly, just sort of on the sidelines, I was kind of helping him, but we were starting to get feedback from investors saying, hey, as an investor, I myself, I'm a GP in many cases. I have, my own syndication. I would actually want this experience for my investors. So it was kind of a light bulb moment to say, well, what else is out there that's kind of helping this process? And at the time, it's pretty limited. And quite frankly, the tool of choice in the industry is, and in many cases today, is still Excel. It's still shared files and folders. And so for us, the light bulb moment was, well, it makes sense to create, an actual platform to handle the entire lifecycle of the investment and syndication, and obviously bring professionalism to the space. So that was very much kind of the launching point of realizing that, as a whole, there just wasn't many attainable options for groups in the space. But more on that.
No, that's awesome. I just, like seeing an opportunity and chasing it, right? And seeing, hey, this is an opportunity and committing at a massive level to go make it happen. Speak to the team building process. I'd love to get into a few other things too, just the go-to-market strategy, some of those things, and even the fundraising piece, where, you connected with a billionaire, right? That invested with you all. And so I want to get to that, how you did it, because we're all trying to do that in this business as well, right? How many billionaires can we connect to? But tell us a little bit about the first strategic pieces of the team building section and growing, right? And moving forward to create something that's, it's turned out so well.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you first start off, there is a lot of what you might call kind of, grit involved, right? So there's a lot of bootstrapping and you're figuring things out, limited resources. And so, you do take on as much as you can as an individual. You're learning a lot along the way, everything from, product development to sales. And so these are things that as you scale a team, you have the fortune of being able to segment out to actual people as they're joining on. But so early on, very much, again, all hands on deck, figuring things out as we go. But as we've scaled, big piece of that has been, looking for people that are, in effect, a lot better than what you are, as so to say that, okay, I'm not the greatest at finance, or, I'm not going to run the books forever. So, hiring an actual finance person, someone that actually knows the process a lot better. These are decisions that you make as you scale. So for us, so it's been kind of understanding when is the right time to bring on the team member, and then, to what capacity they can help. I know kind of to your kind of second piece there, I guess, how do we scale from, getting in sort of to the place where we're at, where we're raising capital from Dan Gilbert and kind of their investment fund. Our kind of story around that, it was very organic. So when we launched InvestNext, we were never in a position where we had to raise capital. So the nice thing about this is that, we're a very sustainable business. We had customers that were paying and were willing to pay for the platform that brought them value. So kind of, I would say it's very not as a traditional path as you would expect in sort of the tech world, where oftentimes, you'll go to you'll start with a concept and perhaps you might raise capital. And And really through the initial phases, you're trying to refine your go-to-market strategy and obviously get to a point where you're actually generating revenue. On our standpoint, we were already generating revenue. We were very, really strong there financially. So it was more of an organic approach of the group that Dan Gilbert runs here being local to the area. They'd heard about us through the network of customers and so forth. And so just our kind of grit and track record and what we had accomplished to date as a very small team was enough to say, hey, we believe in what you're building and the long-term vision here. So no magic to it, except, we were very much, executing and building out as we went. So,
yeah, I think it's interesting that you all, as a software business, you were cash flowing, right? I mean, that just shows, in the real estate business, it's like, deals that are cash flowing from day one, we consider stabilized, potentially, right? Or we won't stabilize deals that are occupied at a certain level, right? But if they're cash flowing, we just assume there's less. I don't want to say assume, but we do. There's less risk, right? As opposed to if we're buying something that's 50% occupied or, less, right? But it sounds like you all had a different, you all already cash flowing. That would make me feel better, right? As an investor, as opposed to just having the idea of what you all are going to create and it not being created yet, or much of it. You all were already functioning and serving clients. And so it's neat that those investors could reach out to your clients as well, right? And talk to them. And that, I just think that it was crucial.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a major piece that we've seen a shift on in, when you really think about tech investing, tech ventures in the space as a whole, there's definitely more of a concerted effort on, what is sort of the sustainable health of a company and how are the founders and the people running this, how are they thinking about the long term and being very practical about their growth. And, you've definitely seen other phases or kind of maybe some historical context of like the early boom of the 2000s where you saw a lot of, it was just like kind of the gold rush, right? Like investing left, right, and center for, very conceptual type companies. A lot of them kind of flared out. So I think there's kind of been a wiser approach and in many cases, different attitude. And so that really on our side, we were going to build value and we were going to prove that value. And, in many cases, we're remaining very practical about our approach to the market and again, sustainably being revenue positive. So we always wanted to have that scope on how we're building the business.
What is Agent Ignite? Are you wondering how you can make more money and create a competitive advantage for yourself and your clients in this ever competitive real estate industry? Agent Ignite is the key to furthering your knowledge, establishing your expertise, and positioning yourself as a go-to expert. They deliver new and relevant knowledge so you can expand your clientele, close more deals, and ultimately increase income. Each month features a new guest speaker who will deliver on what is most relevant for your business. As a member of DMAR's Market Trends Committee, an avid champion for building wealth through real estate, and a self-proclaimed data geek, Nicole will share market trends and commentary that will add value to you and your clients. Staying up to date on industry statistics coupled with niche topics delivered by industry experts will help you motivate your buyers and sellers and make you more money. Sign up for the next Agent Ignite session at theruthteam.com/events.
Speak to, you talked about the team building quite a bit and just the keys are it's so important. It doesn't matter what kind of entrepreneurial, path you're on. It's so much about your team. How did you know when to hire the first few people? As I remember, what we've been using InvestNext for 2.5 years or more now. And, it's like you were on the first few calls, with us, right? You and Michael and maybe just you two at first. I can't remember, that you started adding team members, right? And you're not on those calls anymore. And actually I'm not on the calls either, at this point, because we've both grown a lot. But, how did you know when to hire the first person? And you talked about knowing what they could do or, how many roles can they fill? Walk through that just a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's kind of like a question of capacity. And it's actually, at any stage is kind of, it's very much contextual. So when, us hiring our first person was it really came about as a very kind of practical problem to solve, to say that, okay, we've onboarded our first cohort of customers. And as a team of 2 or 3, we can definitely handle those customers, manage the day to day, and ensure that everyone's supported. And over time, you start to, so early on, you can do the things that don't necessarily scale. So, okay, I'll handle customer success and ensure that, everyone's, being properly onboarded. But eventually you do run into kind of sort of an inflection point where you're starting to realize you can't necessarily scale continuous like this. So you realize, okay, well, now we're into our second cohort of customers. And so we're going to need someone that's dedicated completely to customer success. And so that's a very kind of practical example of where we realized that we had quite the volume of customers, and realizing that, as a team, we can't effectively serve everyone. So our very next logical step is, well, we need someone that's just fully focusing on that, kind of eating, breathing, sleeping, that role. And so that was, they're kind of taking you through a bit of the timeline of how we decided kind of that first hire. And that was important to us, kind of delivering that customer experience. Another example of that is, again, there's major components to the platform where early on we're saying, we understood that we wanted to build and enhance. And so, 1 or 2 engineers can only do so much. And so from our standpoint, we had a certain target of saying, we're going to roll out X number of features within the next quarter, within the next year. And so we were doing some very concerted backward planning to say, well, in order for us to roll this out, this is going to take X amount of effort to do that. And so if it takes this much effort, then it's going to take 1 or 2 additional individuals. So that was, again, another very practical approach to saying, if we're going to meet our target, we're going to need X number of resources for doing that. So very logical based. The fact that, again, on the customer example is you're realizing that we can only handle X number of customers per person. So that means we have to bring on an additional person. On the kind of product side of things, again, we can only handle X number of features per contributor or per engineer. So yeah, so maybe
that makes a ton of sense. And I think it's so relatable to what we have done. And in our business, it's like, even when we started with InvestNext, I think in the very beginning, it was mostly me using InvestNext and trying to learn, and it was a desire to better serve our investors. Right. And it's like, okay, we did a lot of vetting and different interviews with different platforms. We said, what, we think InvestNext is going to serve us the best. And we went with that, but it was me at first. And now it's hardly me at all. We have a team member that, she just knows InvestNext like so well. If I have an issue or if I need something done, or we're bringing on a new project or a fundraise, it's like, she's it, right? It's not me anymore. And so it's a matter of growth. How because I get this question often as well. It's like, Whitney, I know I need a team. I know we need to grow. I hear that on so many podcasts, but I can't afford to hire anybody. Like, I can't afford, to go out and just hire 2 or 3 experts to fill our team up, especially early on. And so how did you look at that? Did you all just have the budget? Did you already have enough clients to justify that? How did you grow into that financially as well?
Yeah, so that's a really good question especially for early businesses that are scaling in the world. Again, just coming from the context of the world of tech, building a tech company, very early on, you're going to be bootstrapped. You're not necessarily going to have the budget to hire full salaries. And for us, the way we solved that was ownership. For us, it was to say that for the very first initial employees that we brought on, we couldn't pay market rate in many cases, but we were at the stage that it's to say that, hey, join our team, join our early team, have concerted ownership in the company, help build out what InvestNext is. It's not going to be definitely won't be like the 9 to 5 kind of cubicle job you definitely have many kind of areas of influence as an early team member. And so that was our initial strategy. It was very much hiring kind of those, call it like those superpower roles, in the sense that, it's people that can be kind of multifaceted. They can own certain portions of the business. And so, we were definitely willing to give up ownership in the company to do that. And that was, the reward there is of course, people that join on, they're obviously very committed to the vision and the mission. And so having that sense of ownership is a huge motivation piece. And it's something that we continue to this day. Even as we hire on as we go on to 20 plus employees, everybody is going to have some sense of ownership in the company. And we are trying to permeate that for the foreseeable future, because at the end of the day, we think that's a huge motivation, is to say that, hey, even knowing that I can kind of move the needle on the smallest piece, that's going to contribute to the company. And of course, kind of to that ownership and growth of that. So
I love that thought process, because then you're hiring and you're cultivating, entrepreneurial mindsets, right? Versus a JOB mindset, just I'm clocking in, I'm clocked out, I'm not available. It's a very different mindset. I love that approach, especially when you're getting started, right? And maybe you don't have the funds to go hire a bunch of qualified people, but potentially you bring value to somebody else, right? That you have something they need, they have something you need. Hey, well, let's just go, you give them a portion of the ownership and you go make it happen, right? And it's an abundance mindset. I love that. So I want to jump to the platform a little bit, because I want listeners to understand a little more about the platform in case they've not heard of InvestNext. And yes, full disclosure, we have used InvestNext for 2.5 years, I think now, or longer, in our we couldn't make it without it now. I mean, it does give us that professionalism with our investors. It gives, and actually, the listeners, I was looking at the show numbers a minute ago. You'll get to hear Mike Angelo in a few days, talk, and he brought this up maybe in 2 days, 2 days after the interview with Kevin comes out, how he was investing passively with an operator, and he loved the ease of investing as a LP. And he said, and now he's a larger syndicator, or becoming one, and growing a syndication business. And he said, you know what? Like, I love that ease of investing. I want that for my investors too. And I said, well, how did you do that? Well, guess what? It was InvestNext. And so I said, well, we use InvestNext as well. So I love the process of having a platform like that. But I know there's some new features coming out as well. But I thought maybe you could speak to a little bit about the fundraising process and how that eases things for an operator like myself. And then let's jump into maybe a few of the newer things that's happening in InvestNext.
Yeah. So for us, one of our key objectives around the product is very much creating, again, a frictionless process for the investor. And it's probably one of the biggest hurdles overall. And if you're raising $1 million or $10 million, the intent of that is you're trying to provide a seamless experience for those LPs and those investors. And in many cases, that's the stuff that speaks volumes towards how you are going to be perceived as an operator, as a syndicator, to even as you're kind of building that brand. So there are very practical areas in which we're trying to solve that. And going back in time, I mean, historically, the way people went out and raised capital, again, is as manual as you can imagine, is, talk to investor gives you the nod and send them a subscription agreement. They might sign that. And so there's this kind of chain of emails and phone calls and things that kind of happen in between. And eventually, you send them the wire instructions, and then they finally, you get the funds. So that's one investor. That's sort of like a pretty drawn out process. So that's been kind of the history of how the space is kind of operating in private placement and private investing. So, naturally, at the very beginning, we realized, why can't we turn this into, call it like an online shopping experience, right? Or, you go and you click buy and things kind of start happening, and, the money kind of flows. And so that was like the thesis on our side. So we set out to build that. And today, the whole intent of InvestNext is that it's doing that. So as an investor, you log into your sponsor's portal, you're going to see the offering, can invest in actually view the full summary of that investment right in there, and walk through the entire legal documentation process. Final piece there is actually funding that investment through the platform. On the flip side, of course, the sponsor is going to have full visibility in where the investor is at every single step of the process. And then, of course, even as funds are arriving into your account, seeing that notification on your dashboard, as well as having that recorded on your cap table, your actual equity ledger. So things that historically there was a lot of sort of reconciliation, checking your bank account, making sure those funds match up to that investor. So again, just kind of our intent of that is making that entire transaction as seamless as possible for the investor, and then of course as efficient as possible for the sponsor. So that was a major piece there. And yeah, I can kind of speak to a little bit of where a major reason for us really focusing on that piece is when we think about the sort of the real estate capital market as a whole, we think about this, call it like the $17 trillion, industry. And in many ways, still operates in a black box transactions are very kind of opaque, they're slow. And so our vision around this is very much creating efficiency, and the efficiency that you might see similar to in the public markets. When you think about investing on the stock exchange, you invest dollars and those dollars go and things are handled. And so we kind of see that as an opportunity in this space, is creating more efficiency so that, again, sponsors, even if they're just getting off the ground for the first time, have the infrastructure to start spinning up their syndication, start garnering investments from their investors without a lot of legwork ahead of that. So that's kind of a summary of what we built to date and really the focus there.
Yeah, I know when we first started with InvestNext, I just loved the fact that, hey, we can do distributions through InvestNext, right? And the investors can sign up for ACH payments, so they can put in their banking information, and we click a few buttons and it's on the way to their account. They get it. Yeah, so I love all the positive touches as well. And I think about this, if you're an operator, especially if you're newer in this industry and you're building your brand, this just gives you such a professional presence, with your investor. But you hit the distribution button. Well, they get an email saying, hello, Mr. Smith, your distribution is on its way, from this investment, whatever it may be. And then they get another email that says, it's arrived. And so like all those positive touches, right, are so important in our business. And we do monthly distributions, and investors love that, by the way. If you're doing quarterly, I would strongly encourage you to do monthly if you can. But if you're having to do all those manually, then man, I can't imagine monthly payments, right? I've sat with operators before, and they have full-time staff. Numerous full-time staff that all they do is handle distributions. That's all they did. And because they're a large operator, and this is just in a few clicks of a button, like that's just done. It's all calculated. But a more recent thing, and maybe you all been doing it a year or so now or longer, I don't know. But I love that investors can invest through the platform, right? And so we purposely do not send out wiring instructions like through email, right? Because of all the fraud issues, all those things, we make that very clear. You will, to investors, you will not receive wiring instructions from us. You will have to log into the portal, into a secure portal, to find that information. And so you're getting the correct stuff. And then we still even encourage them to call us to verify. But what I do love is that InvestNext, they can invest straight through the platform. We link the bank account and it's done. They can do it. They can sign their documents right after they sign. They don't have to go find the information. They don't have to go call us. They don't have to go to anything. They can set up their ACH or their account and fund it right there. So I love that ease of that process. And a bigger thing I love about that is the ease for the investor, right?
Yeah. One of the things that you kind of addressed there was it's really around trust. And historically, the way this industry has worked is, very much relationship built and based. And, at the end of the day, you have to trust the people that you're working with. And the degree of trust is again, historically, you really had to know that sponsor, and you really had to have a good relationship there to invest. And I think that has really created a scarcity of capital and access to that capital. The way we view this is being able to provide a transparent platform for investors to view the entire details of an offering, view and understand that their dollars that they're contributing, again, not only functionally speaking, everything is securely managed and transacted, but the flip side of that is understanding that who you're working with is leveraging a system of record to manage your investment, that it's not being managed in a hodgepodge of Excel files or mix of kind of back office tools. The whole point of that being that you are on a trusted ledger where your investment is being tracked, and that your returns are being automatically distributed back to you. That's the degree of trust you can establish with your existing investors as well as prospective investors. So again, from our perspective of how we're empowering a lot of even first time operators, investment syndications, that's our goal is really being able to provide that infrastructure and layer of trust as they go out and again grow and scale their operation. So again, as we think of it as technology plays a major piece in that trust.
Yeah, I think it becomes like you're going to have, say, either a bookkeeper, financial person, somebody like that on your team to figure the distributions out and to track all that and create all these reports. But man, a system like this can just really do most of that for you, in just a massive way. Kevin, unfortunately, we're about out of time. But I love the platform. It has just helped us in a massive way, and I'm grateful to have you on and be able to share that with listeners. And I am not being paid to have Kevin. I just, we've used the platform a long time and couldn't make it without it. But Kevin, an entrepreneurial thought, or just, as you've grown and in this space and in your business, what are some daily habits that you are disciplined about that have helped you achieve this level of success?
Yeah, personally, daily habits for me have very much been, I do spend a fair amount of time just educating myself, constantly being curious about the space. So I think this is something that I've ingrained in myself. I'm always trying to stay current with anything that's happening in the space. So just building the knowledge over time has been super critical on that side of things. I think more personally, one thing I'm and this is totally separate from kind of the career and day-to-day job, but I really enjoy kind of spending time, obviously, with family and keeping that connection piece there. Yeah, sets a lot of context as to what's important in life, and of course just really coming to the day-to-day refreshed. And then daily, I definitely spend time exercising. I think that's a major piece, and actually a daily habit of me personally has been getting up pretty early in the morning, getting the day going. And with that, just kind of having that exercise routine has helped. I mean, personally, just kind of get the juices flowing, the mind ready for the day. So I'd say within the last 2 years or so that's become extremely ingrained in my kind of day-to-day activity. It's really, really helped a lot in terms of kind of the energy that I can kind of bring to the day. So anyways, a little kind of summary there of the different things. But
that's awesome. Up early, exercising. I mean, it's such a common, some common, habits that successful entrepreneurs have. Not every one of them, but man, more times than not, I hear that over and over and over. And so, congratulations again. But how do you like to give back? Yeah,
I mean, it's something that we're continuously focused is, so for context, we're a company that is based in Detroit, and for further context, the city itself is historically has been through some rough patches, and for us, it is exciting to be a part of a shifting kind of change in the local area here. And we are very much focused on very much keeping the heart of the company here in Detroit, keeping the, sourcing as much of the talent pool locally, and then getting involved with actual community type of developments and groups that are themselves not only generating developments for the city itself, buildings, whether it's multifamily, commercial pieces, but the other piece of that is making it sustainable for the local communities here. So a big piece of that is us continuously partnering very much with those groups. And again, just kind of to our mission of, again, not only to sort of democratizing the access to this space, but also just sort of the community building aspect that we've seen on our side and kind of bringing back the city.
Awesome. Kevin, appreciate you giving back in that way, even like being so connected locally, even though your business is everywhere, right? You have people probably all over the country or remote workers as well, but that's just neat to think about that and being connected locally. Grateful for your time today and just sharing about your growth as an entrepreneur, coming from another software business, and creating your own, seeing that need, and stepping out there and being willing to hustle and make it happen. The team building and who to hire, when to hire, and even just parts of InvestNext. I think listeners probably didn't know that we're out there. As an operator, especially newer operators, they're probably not as aware of, hey, we get all this done in one piece of software and create that professional experience, all those things. And so just grateful for your time. How can they get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Yeah, my direct email, Kevin, my first name at investnext.com. Anybody can always reach out directly. And then, of course, if you hop right on the website, there's everything from a little chat bubble. My face might even be on there. I might even respond in some cases. And then, so major pieces there. But hop on our website or just email me directly.
Thank you for being a loyal listener of the show. Please subscribe and share it with your friends. We want to help you become the passive investor you've always wanted to become, but also the operator you've always wanted to become. We want to be the number one resource for your real estate investing journey.
But go to lifebridgecapital.com where you can start investing in real estate today.